Hello and welcome back to the Student RX Network. Today I'm joined by Mari again to talk about some important aspects of regulatory affairs, which kind of also ties into the discussion we had in regards to the industry. So, for those who didn't watch that video yet, Mari, would you mind introducing yourself?
Hi, my name is Marianne Albarracin, but everyone calls me Mari. I'm a P4 at Loma University and current CPHA student trustee.
Thank you. So, first of all, would you mind me asking what initially got you interested into regulatory affairs specifically?
So, yeah, Um, going through my pharmacy school, I kind of knew that I lean more towards industry just because I'm a project based person. And the work life balance for industry is mostly like ebb and flow, depending on what phase of the clinical trials and development process they're going to be in. So I knew that that aligned with my personality type. Now, the hardest part for me was trying to figure out what functional area that my personality type aligned with. And I like that the regulatory affairs was something that we never really learn in pharmacy school. And it seems like it's daunting to learn, but that's kind of something that appeals to me because of it. And when you think of functional areas and regulatory affairs, there's two parts to it. So there's operational side and there's strategy side. I've had some mentors that were able to explain to me what they do, and I got really excited from it because if you're on the strategy side, you're able to take the information from the FDA and you're able to relay it through meetings and lead meetings to the other functional areas and be able to give your input and lead these meetings and be able to think creatively to input what your ideas are and have a voice and have a large impact into where the drug development process ends up going. So I really enjoyed that part of it and kind of just learning about it.
Yeah, that's great. And that's actually really also a specific reason why you're interested as well, which I like it. So for those who didn't have the background on what regulatory affairs is, again, it sounds kind of general. How would you describe, what regulatory affairs is and a role of a pharmacist who's working in this part of the sector of the industry?
Right. So I want to just preface this as like I'm still a student and I'm about to start my appies next week. So a lot of it I still have to learn. And I'm sorry if I say anything wrong, but regulatory affairs, from how it was told to me, is that they're the liaison between all these, regulatory people, such as like the FDA for the US. There's other regulatory bodies within other countries, and they each have their own set of rules. And these rules are constantly changing depending on, the state of drugs and all the new drugs that are coming out. So, how regulatory affairs pharmacists have to do is that they have to not only know what important regulations there are right now that the companies have to follow, but also kind of predict where the FDA is going with it and be able to satisfy later on what the questions the FDA is going to have to the company and make sure it's answered through the clinical trials that have been going on. So it's a lot of like um, teamwork from, learning from other people that have been in the game for a while. And it's also a lot of creativity and trying to think outside of the box of like what holes and what questions that might be asked and being able to think of answers ahead of time before the questions are even asked, which is really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds great. Just to again provide some background for, what the FDA does in general. Obviously, there's a huge sector within FDA just to approve medications going on to, first of all into trial, but then also to finally get marketed out there. and there is a huge role for pharmacists to be able to help with that process. And what Mari just described is a really good summary in terms of what to expect, in terms of what if you're a pharmacist working in regulatory affairs, um, and what's kind of like their role is within that process. So, um, moving on, just kind of following up, what are some kind of terms you might, you know, listen or heard about if you're working in that part of the industry?
So in industry, there's going to be a lot of applications and a lot of paperwork because that's just, you know, how it goes down. There's going to be terms such as the IND, which means an investigational new drug application, which means you have this compound that's ready to be trialed, going through phase one, phase two, phase three trials, and it needs to be investigated. That's why it's an IND. So there's a lot of writing that goes into that, which regulatory affairs is like very much involved in because with uh, drug development, it's safety overall. And, these regulatory processes are the ones that are making sure safety is, at the forefront of all this. After it goes through phase one, phase two, phase three, then there's going to be a new application, which is an NDA. And this is where regulatory affairs and other functional areas that aren't just being talked about here we'll all pitch in into the writing, submit it again to the FDA, whatever regulatory processes that it needs to go to, depending on the country, depending on where you are, so that then it can be marketed out to the general population. And then there's another term called BLA, which is called Biologics License Application. And then that one's specific to biologics, which is something that's most of the companies are going to be in like Northern California because there's going to be the differences between like drugs and biologics with like the certain ways that it's written and stuff like that, just because of the nature of it.
Yeah. So great. Thank you for explaining those terms, and those serve as part of the important process of understanding um, what the process overall is, and how it contributes to the work of a regulatory affairs pharmacist. So for people who would like to learn more about this career path, do you have any kind of like advice or things that you've noticed that can help someone to understand more about this particular field?
Yes. So the main resource is actually going to be the IPHO website. Now, IPHO, you don't actually need to be a member to access some of their education materials. They just kind of have it out there. I come from a school where we don't have an IPHO, and I kind of started that with a couple of my classmates and other pharmacy students and started our own industry committee so that we can get around that and we didn't need to label ourselves as IPHO. That's really good to get an overview on it. And then the other ways is through the FDA website, just because, all the regulations are going to be on the FDA website. Um, Other things are reaching out to fellows. So when you go to, say, the Rutgers Fellowship website, the one from Massachusetts, they're going to have the list of their fellows and what their role is. And they also have brochures depending on the company. You're able to find their names, see what role they have, and go onto LinkedIn and reach out to them. And they're more likely to educate and kind of tell you what they do in the day to day. And that way you can actually learn from like someone that's in that role and make connections with them and find a mentor out there.
Thank you, and I hope that for those who are interested out there, there are all these resources available, and there will be some of them down in the down in the description below. But yeah, again, thank you, Mari, for going through what is regulatory affairs. Click like if you enjoy this video, share this to the friends who might be interested in a career like this. As well as clicking subscribe button if you enjoy our content so far, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.